Hello and welcome to the Wordpath Show. This week the Wordpath Show is in Miami, Oklahoma, in the far northeast corner of the state. We're visiting with the Modoc tribe. We'll be speaking with John Ballard, who's tribal administrator. Now the Modoc tribe is in a unique situation. First of all, they're the smallest tribe in Oklahoma. And second of all, they really have no fluent speakers left. In Oklahoma, at least, and no fluent speakers of their language. So what kind of situation is that, and what do you do with that in terms of Indian culture and identity? John's going to tell us about that. Please join us.
I'm John Ballard. I'm the tribal administrator for the Modoc tribe, and we're here today, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the tribe and what we do here, the things that take place. We don't really have a language that's spoken anymore. We have it on tape that we got from the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. We've got a dictionary formatted, generally. A lot of words put on in format, but no one alive in Oklahoma still yet speaks the Modoc language. In place of that, since we don't have that to carry on or to teach, we've adopted other things. Like today, we promote powwows. We teach kids about singing around the big drum. We make these big drums. We have a class once or twice a year to show the kids how to make big drums. We have a class in the winter, basically, to teach the kids how to sing and how to conduct themselves around the big drum. You just don't walk out there. You just don't start doing things without permission, in a sense. The head singer, you go through him. There's a little etiquette and just basically mutual respect for when you go out to the big drum. We don't only just make the big drum, we make drumsticks, and we make various sizes. We make little bitty ones just to show kids how to get started on this. And we make from the little ones, we go to the big ones. Also, not just powwow and the big drums, we also, my wife, Joyce Ballard, she teaches a shell shaking class here at the Modoc office. We do that, and we teach whoever wants to know, girls and guys, how to make these cans. We're lucky that we can get the cans from a company just outside of town here. But we get the cans, we make, this goes around the girls' legs. We teach stomp dancing here. We teach the boys how to lead stomp dance songs and how to answer. We want to promote everything that we can that's useful in our area as far as intertribal. We don't want, if they're Indian, and we have a lot of Indians that are intertribal in our area. There's eight tribes in our area, and I don't think maybe the Senecas have some language, the Ottawas have language still yet, the Quapaws are trying to bring theirs back, but then you've got the Miamis, the Peories, the Wyandots are trying to bring theirs back, and the Eastern Shawnees, but all of us are just basically starting on the language. And so in our area, a lot of us just do other things. We participate in the Native American Church here at the Modoc tribe. We do fundraisers for the chapter in our area. We try to support the chapter in our area as far as they have sweat lodges here. We try to let the kids know that there's something else out there that they can be involved in. Anything that you might find at a powwow or a stomp dance, even from board dance songs to singing around the big drum to 49, whatever is going to get kids involved, that's what we're looking for. Because it's not just going to be the older ones are not going to be always to be able to carry this on. We've got to bring a new group up every year. And this year we'll have kids coming in to this office tomorrow from the kindergarten classes. We'll have 200 kids from our area. This is show them basically Indian tribal office, and we'll show them, yeah, we do Christmas, and yeah, our decorations might be a little different from what theirs are. We'll have Pendleton blankets around the Christmas tree. We don't use Christmas bulbs. We've got little teepees, and we've got little drums, and war bonnets, and this and that. But just want to try to get the best we can do is get Indian kids involved, and that's our main purpose.
So you don't have to be speaking a traditional language to be Indian and have that community feeling.
No, but I can see where it's a big plus. Yeah. I would love to have someone around our area that could speak Modoc. And I know from knowing a little bit about the Cherokee language and the Ottawa language that some words aren't interpretable into the English language. Some words only mean something, and it means exactly what the Indians know it is. It's like, I don't think there's an Indian word for aluminum or tile floor or carpet, but they have a word that they substitute for these things. But they have a word also that means something like floor, and that's just for simple, illustrations. There's things out there that we take for granted, different kinds of grass, different kinds of trees, and different kinds of everything else that the Indians have a word for, and it has a special meaning to us, whereas the English people or non-Indians lump it into that's grass, different kinds of bark, and just go on and on. I can just see I wish we had that, but we don't. So the next step for us to do is just do the best we can, and that's this intertribal. What we've got here, we teach kids intertribal singing, and intertribal singing in our area in Oklahoma is a lot of Kiowa songs, a lot of Ponca songs, Sac and Fox, Shawnee songs, and anybody that sings around the big drum, there's a big push now. The young kids are getting more involved, but it's not just as easy as going out there and start singing and start beating on this drum. People say, well, you're a drummer. Well, no, they're a singer. Drumming is just a small part of it. It's a part of it, but it's a small part. It takes hours and hours to learn these songs, years. The songs are tough to learn. Sometimes your tongue gets twisted. Sometimes you leave out a little verbal. And a lot of these songs are verbals. A lot of songs have words in them. A lot of songs have words, but then it goes right back into verbals. It's hard. It's really tough. It takes forever to get that first song, and then that second song comes, and that third song, but they come. It's just, you got to stay in it and involved around this big drum. They always told me if you want to learn and you have a good frame of mind and you want to do it in a good way, those songs will come to you. But after the first one, it gets easier. Second one, it gets easier. The third one gets easier. Then you start picking out the rhythm, the tune, some verbals are the same. The drum beats are pretty close. There's what they call a Kiowa drum beat. Poncas have a different drum beat. There's a different drum beat on round dance songs. There's a different drum beat on some memorial songs. There's a different drum beat on gourd dance songs. There's just all these things. You have to know all these before you really can be accepted out there in that big drum. And you can ask every singer or every dancer, ask all the dancers, that this sound is often referred as the drum is the heartbeat of Indian people. You hear it, and I've often been told that story, wherever you have this drum and you're singing and dancing, wherever you're doing all this thing, that people are going to enjoy themselves and have a good time and come together as one, as friends, as come together as families. They're not only doing that, and I don't know where the word powwow came involved. I don't know who made that word. I don't even know, in Indian, I don't even know what powwow means. All I know is that it's just a good time. It's a time for us to come together as one, help one another, enjoy one another, come together as family. And I've often been heard, whenever we do all that, come together around that big drum and enjoy ourselves, we're not only honoring ourselves, but we're honoring our Creator. And all it is just good fellowship and enjoying yourself and trying to carry on a little bit of what we know that was done by our ancestors and our culture. Just carry on that part of it. And that's basically, if you don't have a language, and if you don't have, you're kind of lost in a way of that way, then that's what we're trying to do, is just pick up what we can do. I can't make anybody learn Modoc. I can't make anybody learn this big drum. And I can't invent somebody that can tell me every meaning of what that Modoc language is. But I know people that know the drum. I know people that can explain to me about the drum. I know people that know about stomp dance. I know about people that know about Native American church religion. I know people that know about sweat lodges. But the other, we're just trying to do here what we can do. And I'm in full support of everybody that knows their language. I can't imagine letting that go, but I can tell you it happens. It happened here, and it happens to a lot of other tribes. But the tribes it's happened to, I would like to recommend for them or encourage them to pick up something else, teach something else, get the kids involved in powwow, stomp dance, Native American church. It's out there. There's people that know about it. So if you don't have your language, get involved in something else. That's your biggest asset you've got to you, yourself, your tribe, anything. If you can teach the young kids all these things, then we're not going to lose that.
I was just thinking that of all those cultural powwow and stomp dance and all those things you mentioned, there's one we haven't ever talked about on the show, and that's the sweat lodge. Maybe you could explain a little bit about what the sweat lodge is and its significance, what you do there.
Okay. I stated before, we have a sweat lodge, and we're involved with the Modoc tribe. We're involved with the Native American church chapter in our area. On the sweat lodge part of it, we try to get people involved, try to tell people. I don't think what people think of as a sweat lodge, to go in there, and you see it on TV, and it's not very, it's set up, and there's somebody's over there singing, or they get a vision, or what. I don't know how they think it, but I tell you how we do it here. We go in there, somebody runs a sweat lodge, and they roll smoke, and they pray in there, and they pass water around. We burn cedar every time before we pray. They go in there 4 different times. You go in there one time, one person prays, and then they pass it. But you go in there, one person prays, you come back out, then you load the rocks back up, and then someone goes in and the next person prays. And it runs different ways. I've been places where just one person prays all 4 times. I've been places where one person prays, but this other person pours. It's different in different parts of the country, wherever you go. I've been places where only the men sweat here and the women sweat over here. I've been places where people sweat. Our sweat lodge is facing the east. I've been places where some sweat lodges are facing west. I've been places, we use sage in ours. And I've been in places where they don't use sage at all. But it's different, but it's all the same intent. It's just another way that we go in there and pray. We express ourselves. You have prayer requests. You can ask somebody, I've got this on my mind, or I'm thinking the way you're thinking, but here's the way I see it, or I've had sweats for birthdays. And somebody goes in there, everybody expresses themselves. I want you to have the best day for your birthday, or somebody's not feeling just right. We're going to pray for them this way, or just everything. Anything you might have on your heart, your mind, or any way you're feeling, you can express yourself in there. And then they'll pray about it. It's nothing to be afraid of. It's all a good thing. It's just another way to express yourself and go to God in prayer. It's not mystical. It's nothing that's going to be harmful. It's all done in a good way. And it's all done the way I feel it was done 100 years ago.
One more thing. We're talking about all the language that isn't here still among Modoc people in Oklahoma, but do you know a Modoc greeting by any chance? I like to ask people how to greet someone in their language. No one even greets each other anymore.
And I've listened to it, and I don't, it's sad to say, I don't know a Modoc greeting. I don't know a Modoc. I've listened to it on tapes. I've looked at it on on the computer and matching up the words and saying what it is, but I don't know the correct pronunciation. It'd be like just inventing it. We got a good idea of how to say things. We've got a good idea of the pronunciation, but we don't know. There's no one to say I don't think that's right. But I think the Klamath language is close, but I know that every tribe is a little different. You might be, your language, a lot of languages are real close, but I don't think any language is exactly the same or has exactly the same meaning. And so I don't know. I don't have any idea of the language for the moment.
Yeah, maybe you could tell people what the Klamath language is. Where is that spoken, if it's still
Okay, the Klamath language, that's in Oregon. Klamath, Oregon, out there. That's where the Modocs came from. That's where the Modoc War was in Klamath, Oregon, or right there on the edge of California. And the Modocs were then shipped down here as prisoners of war. Since that time, we've been adopted to the Oklahoma style, and that would have been all the other tribes that we were surrounded by, which was the Quapaws, Peoras, Miamis, Ottawas, Seneca Cayugas, Wyandottes, Eastern Shawnees, and then on down there the Cherokees, Creeks. But whatever tribes were in this area around Oklahoma is what we're basically adopted to. And we haven't gone any farther than that. We don't have the language to fall back on right now. The Modocs, we talk about what we don't have, but you're actually talking to the smallest tribe in the state of Oklahoma. We've got a land base of less than 100 acres. We've got, a tribal population enrollment of 150. We don't have much, but we're trying to make the best of what we've got and to carry on. We've got a tribal cemetery. We've got the original Modoc church that was it's on the National Register of Historical Places. We've redone it. We've got ceremonial grounds. We have a sweat lodge. We've got things in our favor to carry on, but we're just so small, and we're trying to do the best we can. We've got a new bingo facility and gaming casino coming in. We've got a nice tribal office. We're trying to do, we've got a recycling plant for the Modocs. We've got a good outlook on revenue if we get, on an outlook of things. If we get revenue coming in from the bingo and the Class 3 gaming, which is off-track betting, we're not looking to so much as pay per capita to each member. Our goal is to provide education, housing, health care for our tribal members, and then if there's something left over, then we can probably look at some of what the other tribes are doing as per capita. But what's interesting on our part of it, as having just 150 members, we don't have to make millions of dollars to supply the needs for our tribal members. We could make, $150,000, and each tribal member, is eligible for $1,000 as far as services. Or you could break that down. If we had $450,000 come in here from this gaming casino or recycling center or other economic development programs, heck, we could provide some, X amount for education for people over 18, go for higher education. We can provide services for housing services, weatherization, different things. But that's our goal, to provide for each and every tribal member the best we can. And we would have more than 150 members, but a lot of Modocs in our area are intermarried. A lot of Modocs are Quapaw also, but they're on the Quapaw Road. A lot of Modocs are Ottawa, but they're on the Ottawa Road. Same way a lot of Modocs are Cherokees, but they're on the Cherokee Road. So the only ones really that are really on the Modoc Road are the ones that are just Modoc Indian. And we got very few that are some other tribe that are on the Modoc Road.
The Modoc have always been a small tribe. They are perhaps most famous for the Modoc War of 1872 to 73. In the 1860s, Americans had invaded their homeland in Northern California. After many deaths on both sides, the Americans eventually stole the Modocs' land, rounded them up, and denying them a reservation in their own area, placed them in 1869 on the Klamath Reservation in southern Oregon. The Klamath spoke virtually the same language as the Modoc, but they were traditional enemies, and the Klamath, who were not consulted regarding the relocation of the Modoc, treated them badly. Underfed, outnumbered, and harassed by the Klamath, the Modoc fled under the leadership of Captain Jack, who took his people home. The Modoc War began when the authorities tried to return them to the reservation. The war was remarkable. 57 Modocs holed up in the lava beds near Rhett Lake and managed to keep 1,000 soldiers or more, armed with howitzers, at bay for months. They killed 45 soldiers, including the only U.S. general to lose his life in an Indian war. It was probably the costliest Indian war, costing the government at least $500,000 to defeat 57 warriors. When it was all over, Captain Jack was executed, 4 Modocs who had surrendered were murdered in custody, 2 warriors were imprisoned on Alcatraz, and the remaining 153 Modoc were sent 2,000 miles to Indian Territory as prisoners of war. In their first 3 years in Oklahoma, over a quarter of these died. Years later, before allotment, the survivors were allowed to return to Oregon, but some elected to remain in Oklahoma. The last full-blood Modoc, Jenny Clinton, died in Oregon in 1950. After all this hardship, the Modoc who remained in Oklahoma have been very successful. The last native speaker of their language may have died decades ago, but as John Ballard has made clear, they have maintained their Indian identity very strongly in spite of this. The remarkable history of the Modoc language is at once a sad and a hopeful story. Their case can serve as a warning to other tribes who still have the language link to their traditional past. Secure the future of your language now, before it's too late. As John said, it happens. It happened here. On the other hand, and in spite of Wordpath's focus on language survival and its importance for tribal identity, the Modoc have shown us that there is such a thing as Indian cultural life after language death. Let's hope as few tribes as possible have the chance to prove that point again. I want to thank John Ballard for speaking with us. This was very informative, and I really enjoyed myself. I hope you did too. I'd also like to give a special thanks to Patricia Trollinger, tribal historian, for some of the historical background on the Modoc tribe. Please join us next time on Wordpath. The Intertribal Wordpath Society, which supports the Wordpath Show and other Oklahoma Indian language preservation efforts, now has a web page. You can find us at http://www.telepath.com/jbwillia. The 19th Annual American Indian Language Development Institute will be held June 1st through 26th at the University of Arizona, Tucson. You can take up to 6 credit hours of courses in language immersion, bilingual materials and curriculum, linguistics for Native American communities, second language teaching methods, and other language and culture preservation topics. For more information, call 520-621-1068 or address email to kfbigay@u.arizona.edu or write to the postal address on your screen.
Na hene yo hene, na hene yo hene, ana magwana kita, wa pene manaone kita. Na hene yo hene, na hene yo hene, ana magwana kita, wa pene manaone kita. Na hene yo hene, na hene yo hene, ana magwana kita, wa pene manaone kita. Na hene yo hene, na hene yo hene, ana magwana kita, wa pene manaone kita. Na hene yo hene, na hene yo hene, ana magwana kita, wa pene manaone kita. Na hene yo hene, na hene yo hene, ana magwana kita, wa pene manaone kita. Na hene yo hene, na hene